So, good morning and welcome to our webinar on certifications for veteran-owned businesses. My name is James Forrest. I am the program coordinator, and we're very lucky to have Joseph Moore giving the main presentation today. He's one of our procurement specialists. And before we hand things over to Joseph, we're going to hear from Noah Harris, who is the new director for the Norcal VBOC, the Veterans Business Outreach Center. So we're very excited for that partnership as well. So you're going to be hearing from him before we hand things over to Joe. And before we hand things over even to anyone else, I just want to talk a little bit about PTAC first, then I'll do some housekeeping notes. PTAC stands for Procurement Technical Assistance Center. We're a nonprofit center. We're part of a network of centers across the country. We're located up in Humboldt County, but we serve all of the counties you see in California on the map there in green. We are hosted by the Humboldt State University Sponsored Programs Foundation, and we help clients, mostly small businesses, win government contracts. That's what we do, specifically procurement assistance. We've helped our clients win more than $314 million in 2019, and it's going to be more than that once we get the figures in for 2021 and 2020. So we're pretty excited about that. We helped our clients with 314 in 2020, nearly twice as what we did in 2019. So it's a good upward trajectory. We do this with three basic core services. The first two are for clients. So you have to be in our service area. You have to have an established business. You have to be interested in government contracting, and you have to put an application to our website. Everything's free and it's not too hard to do, but you do need to jump through a couple hoops since we're a grant-funded organization. And then you can have access to counseling and bid matching. So one-on-one counseling, we basically have a team of procurement specialists. They can sit down with you on a phone call, video conference. In non-pandemic times, we have some in-person meetings and office hours, and they can walk you through any of the processes that are involved in selling your goods and services to the government. So if you're looking for issues with getting your certifications, figuring out about compliance, doing market research, either on what the government buys or who your competitors are, all sorts of things. We do cradle to grave. So once you actually get your contract, we continue helping you all through that whole process. So that's kind of the bread and butter of what we do. For those clients, we can also offer custom bid matching. Basically, this is a tool that we pay for that we offer to you for free that aggregates all the bids that it can find on the internet that are related to the criteria that you work out with your procurement specialist based on what you sell. And then it gathers all those bids, send them to your inbox every morning, and you can just click on them and start getting your paperwork together and talk to your counselor. So pretty nice way of staying on top of all those opportunities. And then the third thing, this is not restricted to our clients, and most of you know, because I would bet most of you are not actually clients of PTAC today. And you can join from anywhere if you'd like to join a webinar. So we have these resources and trainings. The webinars we're putting on a pretty regular basis. You can always find them at norcalptac.org on our center calendar. You can find the old ones that we've already done under resources and past webinars. In fact, that's where we're going to be putting the video recording and the slides from today. So you can find that under the resources tab, and there's a lot of other goodies there. So that's available for everyone. Everything we do is free, and anyone can join these webinars. So we hope to see you at future ones. We got two other ones coming up later this week. I will be talking about those at the end of the presentation. And let's go ahead and hear from Noah Harris, who we're really, really happy to have on board with the VBOC. So Noah, go ahead and take it away and let us know what VBOC's all about.
All right, thank you very much, James. I appreciate the opportunity to be here with all of the virtual attendees and share a little bit about the VBOC program. It's National Veteran Small Business Week. And before I say anything, I wanted to definitely express gratitude and thanks for all the fellow veterans on the call today or on the webinar today. Myself, I'm an Army Explosive Ordnance Disposal Specialist Veteran, or Army EOD, or for any civilians on the call, it's you could consider me Army Bomb Squad. And so that was my very first job in life as an adult, was learning and getting trained in how to deal with that. Done a lot of other things since then, but I'll spare you the details about me. Mainly, I just want you to know that I am a veteran myself. All the VBOC programs throughout the nation are, for the most part, veteran-led, and we are the part of the SBA resource partners that are in one word, we're dedicated to helping veterans with their mission post-service, whether it's looking to transition into a business specifically and learning all the ins and outs of how to do that. That's our core focus. But we're also a network hub, you could say, to connect that veteran to other resources in the veteran support ecosystem. So yes, our focus is business, but we're not only business, because just like when we served, it takes a lot to be able to stay ready. And quite frankly, that's what I personally and through the program are dedicated to, is helping veterans to not only translate their military experiences into the businesses that they're interested in either establishing or growing, but also maintaining that readiness over time, because throughout the country, we've seen so many different challenges, weather and everything else. And we're just committed to helping our veterans interested in businesses to really stay as ready as they can be. Now, specifically, as I mentioned, the transition related services that we provide, there are actually two types of them. One is called Boots to Business. It's mainly for transitioning military personnel, and it is available to military spouses as well, to really help them transition. And if they have thoughts, ideas, some of them even start businesses, or I should say some of you even start businesses prior to transitioning out. And our focus is in making sure that you're able to really stay on track, get connected with all the tools that are available to you to help you grow, establish, and scale those businesses. So it gets into the details of planning the business, financing the business, HR, hiring. We do have one-on-one mentoring. As you'll probably hear, if you haven't heard already, if you've attended some of the other SBA National Veterans Business Week events, we really are an ecosystem of organizations focused on small business, period. There are a lot of different resource partners that handle different aspects of helping people to scale and develop their businesses. But the core idea is that forward movement. And at the VBOC, for veterans, I really like to think of our program as a place where veterans can come. We speak the veteran language, and not just in terms of lingo, but also in the sense of the camaraderie, the common experiences. And we're able to, number one, make sure that we have a clear understanding of what it is that businesses need, and number two, leverage and execute those resources to help that veteran scale that business. And if that looks like, just as James mentioned, if that looks like procurement assistance, we make sure to get them connected to the PTACs and to get that experience, get that support, and then of course monitor and stay engaged with them through the lifespan of their business. So again, just as it says on the material here, it's really all about moving your business forward. It's broken down into business, training, planning. We do get into financing. Some of the specific things that are coming up on the horizon, I'll do a little bit of a tease. I can't say a ton about it yet, but there's some special accesses to information that can help businesses scale, especially putting together their financials, that I'm excited to eventually start testing out. And I shouldn't say testing out, but really working with using. These are not new tools. They're new to me to be able to share with all of you. So stay tuned. We'll be including information on our websites about those new tools. As far as if you want to work with the VBOC, basically our eligibility requirements, you need to be a transitioning or active duty service member, a veteran of any area, National Guard or Reserve member, or military spouse. And as I said, bottom line, we can help you with the the next steps, as it were, to help you get from where you are to where you want to be. So that is pretty much our program in a nutshell. As James also said, and this is one part that I would make a point of distinction with. He mentioned that all of our programs are free, and they are, because they're all tax dollar supported. But one thing I love to tell people is the fact that I highly doubt that any of you have a room in your house with the lights on and no one in there, or I highly doubt that in your restroom you've got the tap running to drip just a little bit. You know, the idea being that we are paying for these resources and programs, so it behooves all of us to get our money's worth. Give us a call. Let us help you to scale and grow whatever businesses you are either looking at starting or that you already have. So that is pretty much the VBOC, and that's how we operate in terms of our service area here in California. The NorCal VBOC covers from Ventura County north, and there's a SoCal VBOC that covers pretty much all of Southern California. But bottom line, regardless of where you are, and for those attendees from other states, if you're a veteran, I highly encourage you to contact the local VBOC in your area.
Thank you so much, Noah. I really appreciate that intro, and as I'm learning more about VBOC as well, and I liked the metaphor of not leaving the tap on, because it's the same thing for government contracts. Government contracts come from our tax dollars, and if the small businesses aren't getting their slice of the pie, it's the same basic metaphor. We want to make sure that everyone has access to projects that are being funded. So a lot of resources available to small businesses in the field. And so we're really happy for our partnership with the VBOC, and welcome, Noah. So let's go ahead and move things right along here. Before I hand things over to Joe, I just want to give a little housekeeping notes here. There's a Q&A. Well, first off, we're recording this session. So just to mention again, the video recording, the slides will be posted to let everyone later today. You'll all have those. It's going to go on our website, norcalptac.org, under the resources tab and past webinars. And the next thing is how to interact with each other. So we can talk to each other, network. If you have any technical issues, you can put those in the chat. If you have a question that you'd like read aloud during the Q&A, so actual question about content, about procurement, about your business needs, first, be sure that it is specific to the content of the presentation. Be sure that it is not so specific to your business that it's not useful for everyone else's time. And then be as clear as possible and put it into the Q&A module. It's a lot easier to follow along with questions in there. And we'll be happy to get to them once we have time for questions later. So it's about 15 minutes past 10 now. Let's go ahead and hand things over to Joe Moore. Joseph Moore is one of our excellent procurement specialists with Norcal PTAC. He is himself a veteran. We would like to get a poll going while Joe is talking a little bit about his biography here. So let's just go one slide back, Joe, and we'll get the poll going. But take it away, Joe. Looks like your camera is off, by the way. So let's go ahead and ask to start video there.
Oh, good.
All right, we got you.
Okay, welcome, veterans. I'm glad you're here today. This is going to be an informative webinar on how you get yourself registered to come into a select group of individuals who will have the opportunity to get different advantages in federal and state contracts. I hope you find this webinar to be informative to you. I would like to add a few additional nuggets to my resume that you just saw previously. Navy nuggets. And I'm sure each one of you have many nuggets you could share about your time in the service. At some point, I hope I can have the opportunity to hear some of your individual nuggets. I enlisted in the Navy in 1964 under the delay entry program I was transitioning between a junior and senior year in high school. I'm a Mustang officer, which means I was enlisted and officer. Officer Candidate School, 1976. I held 11 pay grades in the Navy. As a supply officer, I have 2 subspecialties, acquisition and contracts and aviation logistics. I'm a Desert Storm veteran from duty with the 3rd Marine Aircraft Wing headquarters during Desert Storm in Saudi Arabia. The approach I'm going to take on this presentation is I'm not going to read the slides to you. You can read, but I'm going to add specific points of concern or interest to you from my perspective. I do have the tendency to speak in acronyms. If I put out an acronym, I will try to go back and tell you what I just said in English. Questions will be taken at the end of the presentation, and a copy of the slides will be made available to you. What is contracting?
Joe, do you want to go over the intro poll we just had real briefly?
Sure, that'll be fine.
All right. I've just ended it and I'm going to share the results right now. So you all should be able to see the results on the page, but it looks like first question was, if you serve the armed forces, what branch did you serve in? Looks like we got 6 folks from the Army, 11 from the Navy, 3 from Marine Corps, 5 from Air Force, no Coast Guards, no others, and we have a couple folks that have not served. And it looks like the vast majority are currently business owners. So welcome to everyone.
Great. That's great to hear. Thank you. That's good information.
Yeah, we'll have one more poll later at the end of the presentation. So, and remember to keep your questions and answer them in the Q&A once you have them. Thanks.
Okay. What is contracting? From my years of experience in this field, I have to say that I think the entire process is one that is a combination of fixed procedures and processes, along with the flexibility to make adjustments and to move on. It can at times be very overwhelming, frustrating, but in the long run, it does allow for a sense of pride and accomplishment to kick in. This is this subject matters we're going to run through today. And I'm going to take control, James. Okay, I think, okay. I've got control of the machine now. Sorry about that. How do I think the whole process of contracting comes together? I think the first process that you need to look at, and which this topic is about, is your business formation and your registration process. Also about developing your capabilities. I encourage business owners to learn as much as you can about the contracting process. Ask questions, ask for assistance. The next phase is applying what you've learned. Take that information you've learned and try to apply it to a solicitation document that you're not going to submit for formal review, but for learning purposes for you. It's a trial and error process. And then the next phase would be to jump into a live solicitation, submitting a response to that proposal, and waiting for the results. If you do not win that contract, the first thing you do is you go out to the contracting officer and request a formal debrief about the strengths and weaknesses of your proposal. If you win, you have to perform. The terms and conditions of the contract will prevail your performance. And remember, at this point in time, there is a strong relationship between the government and your business because they are putting their interest in you. Okay, this is objectives of the program, and the purpose of the veteran programs is to ensure that our veterans who serve the country at great sacrifice get advantage in obtaining contracts from the state of California and with the federal government. Now we're going to talk about the California Disabled Veteran Business Enterprise Certification Program. Let you read through these for a few moments.
You can go ahead and go through them, Joe.
Okay. The ones I want to point out to you here that may have some additional information to them is a veteran must reside in California. Okay. But from the guidance from the Department of General Services that runs this program, and I quote from their website, your home office must be located in the United States and not a branch or subsidiary of a foreign firm, corporation, or foreign-based business. Ownership, 51% of one or more disabled veterans. You could have a partnership of two service-disabled veterans, and that would work. If you have a partnership of one service-disabled veteran and one non-veteran, 50-50 each, that type of arrangement is not going to work to help you qualify for this certification. How do you get started? This slide here is the slide from Cal eProcure website, which talks about the certification requirements. And the documents down below, the items down below in the blue are additional requirements for both these certification programs. These are the only two special certification programs in the state of California. You can qualify as a small business, and you can also qualify as a disabled veteran business enterprise. You can do the application for both of them at the same time. Okay, now the homepage on Cal eProcure, which is Cal eProcure homepage for that, the top left is how you register your company to be a vendor to the state of California. The top right box brings you over to this information as to how to register your business. Now, what documents are required? Item 2, I had some questions about, and we got a verbal directions from DGS, the Small Business and Disadvantaged Business Enterprise Office that manages the program, about the disability letter. It has to be, the document has to be less than 1 year old at time of submission of your application for certification. And if you have more than one veteran in the ownership of the company, each veteran has to submit the same documentation. Federal taxes, the last 3 years. What if you've only been in business less than 3 years? Well, if you've been in business less than 3 years, you must submit a document which states your business start date, along with all pages of the owner's most recent federal tax return. If the most recent federal tax return has not been filed, you have to submit an affidavit of income, the AI form, along with the IRS request for an extension of filing. Now, resume should be a fairly easy item to think about, but just what they're looking for here in the resume is they want to see that you have experience, education, qualifications, and knowledge in the area in which your business is established. You can't have a medical office if you don't have experience and education as a physician. Now, these are additional documents that may be required based on your type of business or your structure of your business. The one that's highlighted is the DVBE equipment rental information. This only applies if you are going to be renting equipment to the state. You have to be able to show you have ownership of that equipment. And again, you have to show, if you're going to be doing equipment rental to the state, you have to have 3 years of the most recent tax returns that show these pieces of equipment being in the tax return as being assets or being depreciated. Equipment that you rent to complete a job for your company does not fall under this requirement. Additional note here on this slide on the additional documents that may be needed. If your business is an LLC, a limited liability corporation, it must be fully owned by one or more disabled veterans. And again, do not submit any documents unless requested to do so. Any additional documents other than these. How does the certification process work? Well, again, I mentioned to you that you can submit for the small business, disadvantaged business enterprise at the same time. Small business certification is usually instant. The disadvantaged business enterprise is a little bit longer, usually takes about 30 days. Now, this expedited process is a provision that's in their operating information that allows you to have your application pull forward because you have a specific solicitation that you're replying to that has a requirement that you have to be certified. And the information you must submit is a copy of the solicitation document, the cover page. It gives the name of the agency, the contract name, the solicitation number, the bid due date, along with your request to have your application processed. The application has to be in their possession before you can ask for a expedited processing. What are the advantages for you as a small business disabled veteran to go into this program? Well, first of all state of California agencies and departments have an annual goal of 3% of the contracting dollars for disabled veteran business enterprises. That's a lot of money out there waiting to be taken up by disadvantaged business enterprises. You have a couple other items on this slide that give you more options, and there's a lot of information covered in these bullets right here. First of all, the incentive program. It allows for qualified bidders who agree to use certified disabled veteran business enterprises as subcontractors to receive an incentive, and that incentive is based on the bidder's commitment to use a percentage of the service disabled veteran business enterprises as subcontractors. How it's calculated is that percentage between 1% and 5%. That percentage is calculated against the lowest bidder's bid price And the total is subtracted from the qualified bidder's price to come up to an adjusted amount. Adjusted bid amounts can be used then to rank the firm against other bidders or even place the bidder in the top of the line for a potential contract award. This bid option is a very unique program. It allows departments to obtain from two certified disabled veteran business firms or small business or a combination small business and service disabled veteran business enterprise price quotes for a solicitation. There is no formal announcement of this solicitation. The agencies just reach out to you. The benefit is you have an immediate contract award for the full value, no requirements for subcontracting commitment. There is no allowance allowed for any protest from anybody that's any of the two firms that are bidding on this. And it helps the agency meet its annual goal of 3% for contracting. Reciprocity partners. This is an active link you can go out to find out who the partners are. The partners are identified as cities, counties, agencies, or special districts that honor these certifications of small business and disabled veteran business enterprises. If you go to the link in the presentation, you will find out who's in the program. There are also some other agencies in there that are related to, for example, BART, and California Power. They're listed in there too as participating partners. There's been a recent new addition to this, the University of California procurement system. So these are all advantages you have of being receiving the certification as a disadvantaged business enterprise in the state of California. I'm going to shift gears now. We're going to move over to the federal side for service disabled veteran or veteran-owned small business verifications. The current process for the federal government is verification, where the state of California is a certification. I'll address that difference in a few moments with the next slide. Verification is through the Vets First program, Vets First verification program. And if you go to va.gov/OSDBU, OSDBU, /verification, /index.asp, you will find everything that I'm talking about on the federal certification in one location, including all instructions, documents you need to submit, and all the information you would need to process your application. Now, this is upcoming changes to the verification program. The National Defense Authorization Act for 2021 has put in the following provisions. Number one, it's going to establish a government-wide service disabled veteran-owned small business certification requirement for all federal agencies. Currently, this certification requirement for service disabled veteran is only required if you're doing business with the Department of Veterans Affairs. Other federal agencies use the service disabled veteran-owned small business certification as means to verify those firms, and they can issue contracts to service disabled veteran-owned firms. This program is going to be implemented in 2 years by January 2023. It's going to change from a verification program to a formal certification program at that time. Currently the SBA, Small Business Administration, does the certification for the 8A firm. An 8A program is a business development program for certain firms who have documentation that they have been discriminated against, and they have ethnic issues. And so that's the 8A program. The Hub Zone program is the historically underutilized business program, which is a program that's based on geographic addresses for qualification. For example, if you have any military bases near you that have been closed, those military bases who have been closed are normally put in the Hub Zone program as a Hub Zone location. And then the SBA also does the woman-owned small business and the economically disadvantaged woman-owned small business program certifications. The thought process here to move this over from Center for Veterans Enterprise over to the SBA was to, number one, make it a formal certification program. And secondly, since SBA is already doing the certifications for the other programs, to pull this in under the SBA administration for certification. The details are still being worked out as to how the information is going to be transferred and when, but it's got about 14 months to be worked out. Now, what are the three requirements of verification? Three big requirements for verification for the federal government: eligibility, ownership, and control. I'm going to talk about these in detail in the next couple of slides. There is a pre-qualification quiz you're able to take at vetbiz.va.gov. The pre-qualification quiz is not required, but what it does, it assists you as a business owner so you know what pitfalls or issues you're going to have with your application when you submit it to make certification. It will give you a color code, either red or green. Okay. Now, the three main areas: eligibility, number one. This is based off of your primary North American Industry Classification Code. You say, what does this acronym stand for? Well, the NAICS, North American Industry Classification Code, is a 6-digit number which provides a description of what your business is. The NAICS codes are established and maintained by the U.S. Department of Commerce. The size standard for each North American Industry Classification Code is maintained by the Small Business Administration. We have two different size standards associated with NAICS codes. One, and they're one or the other, but not both. One of them is number of employees. The other one is annual revenue. The requirement recently changed to where the NAICS code you will maintain a 5-year rolling average to project your size status. For example, if the size for a firm has a 5-year rolling average of revenue of $14.5 million, as long as you stay under that NAICS code for under federal government contracts, less than $14.5 million in 5 years, rolling average, you're a small business. Once you go over that number, you're a large business. Same thing with employees. If you have an employee number, and that's mostly in the manufacturing industry. Let's say you have a number of 500 employees. As long as your rolling average for the 5-year period of time stays under 500 employees, you're still classified as a small business. You can have multiple NAICS codes in your SAM registration. You have to have at least one in your SAM registration, and the SAM must be completed and active before you can submit a package to the VA for a service disabled veteran or veteran-owned small business certification. In reality, you can, since you have multiple NAICS codes, and each NAICS code gets its revenue or a number of employees based off of contract awards to you for that NAICS code. You actually could be a large business under one NAICS code and a small business under another. But we got to get you into the realm of getting contracts first before we start worrying about that. Okay, the next bullet here on the big three is ownership. Ownership must be 51% unconditionally and directly ownership of one or more service disabled veterans. Okay. Ownership cannot be obtained through a holding company or a trust. For direct ownership cannot be obtained through a holding company or a trust. It must be unconditional, no restrictions to apply, acquire, or dispose of shares of the company assets. If you are a franchise holder, where restrictions are put into place by the parent company, such as the ability to have full control of the business, or where specific corporate procedures must be followed, you would not meet the qualifications for unconditional, for direct ownership. Control, very simple. The day-to-day operations must be under the full control of the veteran applicant or applicants, responsible for all management decisions, highest level of in the company structure, and highest in compensation. Okay, how do you start this process? Well, once you've gone to the First Vet's portal and you've pulled down the documentation that gives you a list of what the required documents are based on your business structure, you go ahead and you come into this website. You start out by entering your DUNS number. You've already received a DUNS number because you have to have a DUNS number to do your SAM registration. And then you just start the registration process. And you keep going through it. It's as far as I can go because of the limitations on the system. But once you start the process, it will stay open for you, and you can come back to it where you left off without any problem. You will upload all your required documents to this portal. And then once the upload is completed, then you start into the review process. Okay, the review process is kind of 4 phases here, 3 phases. Okay, first of all is the document review. This is where the VA has someone who is reviewing your package, like when it comes in, providing you answers to your questions or helping you gather the required documents that you may be missing. I am a veteran, I'm a certified veteran assistance verification counselor for VA. I can help you with those first 2 steps before you even approach VA. The third thing that's done during the initial review process is VA validates your service disabled veteran rating via their system or access to Department of Defense systems. The federal government law right now says you have to have a service disabled veteran rating of 0 to 100%, with or without compensation. Okay, and then the second phase is, the verification assistance person or myself, if you missing documents for your required documents you have to submit, you can submit what's called a letter of exception. You're telling the government why you do not have these documents available. It's just a simple letter, explaining that, for example, they ask for payroll information. The simple letter would be on payroll, you could say, I have no employees, so therefore I have no employee payroll. And then you sign it, and that goes in as an attachment to the package. The assessment review is where this is reviewed completely by a group of review team at the VA. They're looking through all the documentation to thoroughly confirm that you do have ownership and control of the company. It also provides you an opportunity to submit additional information they may request. They then submit a recommendation for approval or disapproval to the adjudication review team. Adjudication goes back and does a quality check on all the items that the assessment team had access to. They prepare the formal determination letter. And then that formal determination letter is then submitted to the director of the Center for Veterans Enterprise. And once it's approved by the director, the letter is sent to you. The decision typically takes about 60 days from submission of an acceptable package, which means the documents have been reviewed initially and then passed up to the assessment review team. That's what the VA is advertising. Right now, the VA is doing about 48, 49 days is what I'm hearing for the latest turnaround time. Now, this has been a lot of information, but all the information on both the state and the federal is available online for you to pull down and work with. Why is it to your advantage to have a federal government service disabled veteran certification? Well, again, the federal government has 3% goal for all federal agencies on all the procurement dollars to go to service disabled veterans. They also have goals for small business, woman-owned small business, hub zones, and 8A firms. Once you're approved, your service disabled veteran status is valid for 3 years. The Veterans Administration can give preference in most cases to service disabled and veteran-owned small business contract awards. To find your local liaison for your local VA facility, go to the website that's listed and just pull it down by state and location, and you will find out who your small business liaison is for that particular VA activity. In 2019, the VA had a set goal of 3% of its contracting dollars for service disabled veteran-owned firms. The actual goal obtained for 2019 was 23.39%. for a value of $6.4 billion. They also had a goal for, that was the goal, 3% required by law. VA had its own internal goal of 15% for service disabled veteran-owned small business and 17% for veteran-owned small business. They met both of their goals. Other federal agencies recognize the service disabled veteran certification. The firm that once they're certified has a very nice logo, electronic logo that is given to you that you can use on your letterhead, your business card, your marketing material, your capability statement. It shows that you have been verified by the Veterans Administration. And that gives the other federal agencies, the non-VA agencies, the ability to understand right up front that you are who you say you are, and it makes it easier for them to make a contract award, either set aside or sole source, to a service disabled veteran or veteran-owned small business. There is no contracting goal at the federal level for the veteran-owned small business. Only the VA has the 17% goal, internal goal for veteran-owned small business. Now, where do you go for assistance? Right here. Come right to your PTAP organization. Sorry. Okay. Okay. If you're already registered as a PTAP client of us or any PTAP, go to your assigned counselor for assistance. If you're not a current client of Norcal, please see the links below and become a Norcal PTAP client. There's massive amount of assistance available to you. We have a super strong team at Norcal that can help you in any and every phase of federal government contracting. All of us have been associated with federal government contracting one way or another over our lifetime of experience. Okay, I am now ready to turn the slides back over to James and let him start taking questions, and we will see how those go.
All right, great. And first, a couple things. One, we want to launch a little poll here. We had one in the intro, and for this one, we want to just see how you guys, what about your future options, what's going on. So I'll launch that right now, and then I'll talk a little bit about some of our upcoming events. So, as you may have heard, it is Veterans Small Business Week. This is the first part of a three-part series that we're having right after one after another. So we'll have one tomorrow on micro awards. We're calling the Gateway to DoD contracting. That's the Department of Defense. And the same time at 10 a.m. tomorrow. And then on Thursday, we'll have a webinar on doing business with the Air Force. And we have a gentleman named Brian Misraka, who is joining from the Air Force, will be our featured speaker, guest speaker. So those will both be treats. So please do sign up for those, just like these. They're totally free. As Noah pointed out quite astutely, they're paid for by your tax dollars. So you might as well take advantage of them. That's what we're here to do. All right, we're getting some responses on the polls here. The poll question was, given the information that you obtained today, are you interested in obtaining a California DVBE or federal SDVOSB verifications? And it looks like I'll just go ahead and end it here. 22 responses, share results. DVBE, nobody answered, but SDVOSB and VOSB, we've got about 6, it's about a third of folks. Both, about half of you want both. So very few of you just want the DVBE. And some of you are not sure yet, which is also totally fine. Yeah. If you need any help deciding what sort of purpose it could help, it would serve your business to get these, please do apply for your PTAC, sit down with your counselor. They can go over the issues with set-asides and all sorts of things like that, which will help you understand the benefits or whether it's worth it to go through the paperwork, because it can be a huge benefit. but you'll want to make that decision with your PTAC counselor. So like we said, PTAC services always free. There's PTACs across the country, not just our own PTAC, but certainly if you're in the Northern California, Pacific Northern California coastal area, or inland counties of Shasta, Trinity, and Siskiyou, you are in our service area, and we would love to see your applications. We love working with veterans and helping out. So please do apply. You can find our website at the bottom there. My information is there as well. Phone number and email address. Go ahead and just give me a shout out and we can connect and talk about our services and how we can help you. All right, we've got some time for a Q&A. As I've mentioned, there is a chat and then there's a Q&A. If you could put your questions into the Q&A tab, that would be great. It's really easy to track them that way. If you have any shout outs or something like that, you can put it into the chat or a technical issue. A couple notes, there'll be a survey when you leave today. If you could fill out what you thought of today's webinar, that would be great. And that we will be sharing the slides in the video later. All right. And we're coming up at almost 11 o'clock now. So you guys, anyone is welcome to leave, but we do have some time for a Q&A we want to set aside to answer some questions. So the first question we have here is from Al Galarpi, who's asking, this is a good question, Joe. Can I form the business in Nevada, do business in California and Nevada, and get certified in both states?
Well, I can't answer for Nevada because I don't know what their requirements are. But for California, you have to have residency in California. You can be an out-of-state formed company, but you have to have residency in California to apply for the Disabled Veteran Enterprise Program.
All right, thanks. Steve Glaser is asking, if your business already has a cage code, is there some way to translate the SAM or cage code over to verification as a VOSB? Thank you.
You still have to file a formal application with the federal government, with Department of Veterans Affairs. You know, cage code is related to a SAM application, and that's the only place it is. But a SAM is a required document in the application process for the federal government.
All right. Terry Schillinger is asking, I'm a new business with no history. Can we still apply for these certifications, both the state and the Fed?
I am not aware of any restrictions that says you cannot. You just have to be in business. You know, there's nothing that I'm personally aware of that says you have to be able to show you've had past performance.
Okay, and Steve is leaving a little tip of advice. AFWERX is an awesome portal tool for anyone trying to gain a contract. Thanks, Steve. All right. I don't see any other questions in the Q&A. I do see one in the chat, if I can dig in here a little bit. I see some folks are asking if they can set up a meeting with Joe. That's a good sign, Joe. I think you did a good job.
Hey.
Please apply to become a PTAC client, and you can request Joe specifically in your application.
And James will send me your information as soon as he processes it and tell me to get back in touch with you. And I will do that.
Just put Joe's name in the application and we will get you connected. We do need you to be in client status first, though. All right, looks like, let's see here. Latoya asked, I just want to ask if you stated in 2023, all government agencies will also honor the veteran disabled businesses, putting aside 3% also? Yes.
There's no indication they're going to change the set aside goals for the federal government. It's just that it's going to go to all federal agencies as a requirement. Right now, it's only for Veterans Affairs, for Service Disabled Veteran Certification. But 2023, it's going to all federal agencies and bureaus and branches and all that for Service Disabled Veteran firms.
Perfect. All right. Do we have any other questions folks want to put into the Q&A while we still have a minute or two at the end here? I will put in the chat right now just to sort of coax folks into answering this survey that we have. It just takes a second. You can do it anonymously. It just gives you a chance to let us know how you felt about this webinar. We do look forward to hearing your feedback and always improving the services that we offer. Like I said, we are grant funded. It matters a lot to us and it matters a lot to our funders. So we do appreciate if you take a second there. And just another pitch that we've got 2 webinars upcoming tomorrow and the next day. And we've got more webinars in the pipeline. And we're here for you for helping out. If you want to become a client or look up your local PTAC, whatever you need, you can reach out to me on my contact information there. So I don't see any other questions. So I just want to give a big thanks. Noah had to leave a bit early. He's a busy man. He's got another webinar to go to. So thanks to Noah for joining. He's going to be joining a couple more webinars. And Joe, thank you so much. Joe put in a lot of hard work on this and preparing this presentation. So we really appreciate the work.
One additional final comment. Thank you, veterans, for your service, and help us to help you get where you need to go with your business.
Absolutely. And that's what we're here for. All right. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Bye-bye.